Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast for media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Mathmachine, Angron, and LuckyEevee. Today is our 13th episode, and we're discussing 1996's Quack Pack episode, Leader of the Quack. So let's get things started. So the interesting thing is Quack Pack is technically the first starring role in television for a certain Mr. Donald Duck. There was one television series that came before this called Donald's Quack Attack, but that was just a bunch of Donald Duck shorts basically stitched together.
Not to mention DuckTales technically only had one appearance.
Yeah, he only had one cameo appearance, and he made a couple of appearances in Walt Disney's anthology series of some episodes. But yeah, this was the first show basically to star Donald Duck, and it's really fascinating how for decades Disney was really reluctant to even dip a toe in the waters of television cartoons. Yeah, because all the stuff in Walt Disney Presents for the most part, there were some episodes with brand new animation done. Of course, the Ludwig von Drake segments, stuff like Mars and Beyond, things like A Day in the Life of Donald Duck and things like that. But for the most part, it just used a lot of archival footage. Same with Mickey Mouse Club. Same with their first Saturday morning show, which was something called the Mouse Factory, and that it was about basically a bunch of Disney shorts strung together by a celebrity host. And it didn't take until the 1980s.
It didn't take them until Wuzzles. It didn't take until the Wuzzles.
Yeah, the Wuzzles and the Gummy Bears were the first two big successes. And of course, then they made DuckTales, which was a monster hit. And we definitely will talk a little bit more in depth about the history of Disney's early television cartoons in the podcast episode about Gummy Bears when we get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Quack Pack is definitely an interesting show. It was going to be a direct sequel to DuckTales. Scrooge McDuck was apparently going to show up pretty often as a recurring character, but sadly they decided to scrap that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the biggest change of the show, and the one that most Disney Duck fans basically note when they see it, is they made Huey, Dewey, and Louie into teenagers. And this could have worked, but the way I feel about it, just basically, looking at some other clips of it, not from this episode, but from other ones, it is very much, how do you do, fellow kids?
For the most part, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and to defend them a little bit, given the fact that, in the past, Huey, Dewey, and Louie were about as diverse as, say, I don't freaking know, the brothers from Adventures in T-Rex. That's another thing we should talk about later. But honestly, I feel that looking at this, these three, it kind of feels like they have, even when they're different, they honestly act very more or less similar. I mean, there are certain subtle tones that help make them very, very different. But overall, I would honestly say that even when they're different, they kind of do feel the same. It's not a bad thing that they did.
Not at all.
It just feels like they weren't different enough. It didn't take until 2017's DuckTales where we truly got differentiation between the trio.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. But what also is interesting is their voice actors, because Huey is voiced by Janine Ellis, better known as Princess Toadstool from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. Dewey is voiced by the voice actress who played Spinelli on Disney's Recess, which was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And Louie is voiced by Elizabeth Daly, who you recognize her voice right away. I mean, she's Tommy Pickles and she's Buttercup from Powerpuff Girls. So that's a voice you recognize right away.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I honestly had a feeling you were going to say something about Powerpuff Girls, but I didn't know who you were going to say about Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But the funny thing, too, is that Disney reused these designs only one more in House of Mouse. And even then, they'd alternate between these and their younger designs on episodes of that. It'd have them looking like this, and then it'd cut to a Mickey Mouse short where they're basically their younger, Donald's nephew selves in it. So it's funny that how Disney basically kind of pushed this under the rug for a time being. Although this is the first appearance of Tress MacNeille as Daisy Duck, and she's currently still her voice actress, and she does a phenomenal job with the character, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really good to see she got her start here. And yep, so let's get started with the episode in general. The intro definitely starts off on a bad point. It definitely has that like 1990s, extreme edgy to it. It's like,
for the most part.
It definitely has that vibe to it.
Oh, also another thing to note, this came out after Mighty Ducks. I mean, I love both, but like, oh man, okay, honestly, I think I prefer Mighty Ducks more, but come on. Come on. It was the 90s. We really,
exactly.
couldn't have done too much better at that point.
It's easy to look back with hindsight,
Yeah.
What appears cool now,
late 90s, early 2000s boy right here, so I can't really complain.
Same. But like I say, it's easy to look back with hindsight. Like what could be cool right now could be really dated in 20 years. Like in 20 years, kids might be, oh man, remember we used to watch Mr. Beast and TikTok videos? It always has a cycle, I feel. But yeah, this episode definitely is an interesting one in that basically Donald Duck is not on the receiving end of the slapstick for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
Definitely for his character, and basically that's what people know him for, is a really, really unique touch. Yeah. And there's also several little changes to the characters. One of which that I do like is that they gave Daisy a little bit more agency by making her a news reporter. It's definitely one of the changes that I feel actually worked for the better for this show. And I feel actually they could have stuck with that as basically her character for the future shorts and that, but they didn't go anywhere. One change I do not get, and to me just seems totally arbitrary. Why is Donald Duck wearing a Hawaiian shirt? I mean,
okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because, firstly, do you know about Donald Duck's history? The guy was in the freaking Navy. For crying out loud. So honestly, seeing him wear a Hawaiian shirt, for the most part, it works because he was for a time in the Navy. And two, I mean, have you seen where they lived? It's basically California, so
that's true.
It's not like it's not out of. So it's not like it's out of place entirely.
Exactly.
It's definitely 90s, but not in a way that makes it feel like out of place or very confusing. So yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right there.
My assumption was that it was just the out of touch old timer clothing kind of thing.
Kind of that, but more for the most part, it works because he's in the Navy again, and also because California had a lot of beach wear,
But yeah, like I said, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, I get that.
Okay. But yeah, like I said, the episode definitely has a really interesting beginning with them arriving in Quaintania, this kind of Brigadoon-esque place where it's still the Middle Ages, and Donald
arriving medieval times.
Basically, but Donald arriving and him being the king is definitely something that you expect it, but the way that they deal with it is kind of funny. And I do like the one aspect, and we'll talk more about her later, about Donald defeating the dragon just because he gets upset and wants to go home. That is so in character for him that he completely does it by accident because he gets upset and just wants to get out of there.
He's like the Hulk, but a little more reserved.
Yeah, and definitely with more of an anger issue. If you see some of those old shorts, he could
definitely... Oh, yeah. That guy had fucking anger issues. Like Jack and the Beanstalk alone.
Yeah, exactly. That's
also, I mean, part of that comes from, him having, sort of PTSD from, the war.
I read that. I read something about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's but yeah, it's still in character, but that's something that's very interesting to note.
Yeah. So like I say, they have this new character in this show called Kent Powers, who to me just seems like a discount version of Troy McClure. And he's definitely a character that, I don't know, I can see what they were trying to go for with his whole smarmy newsman personality, but for me, it just doesn't really work out. It feels like a lot of the slapstick that he gets through this, like because he wants to be a knight and he gets clobbered by the knight in the jousting competition, then he gets beaten with the mace and that. It's like this is stuff that they could be doing with actually Donald himself, and it would have been way funnier. Because Donald,
he lacks all the charm of J. Jonah Jameson. Let's be fair. Let's be fair.
Exactly. Like, this guy is like a character who really he has no reason to exist. I don't think he was in any of the Duck comics or anything like that, so you can't use that as an excuse.
Honestly, he's a show exclusive is the only excuse I can see.
Yeah, I definitely.
He's not terrible, but again, he could have been a whole lot better, and he could have been a whole lot worse.
Definitely. But yeah, the evil prince, Prince Gaylord, is voiced by Charlie Adler, who, again, is another actor who you have heard in literally everything. He's probably best remembered for Buster Bunny of Tiny Toons Adventure, but he did everything. I mean, everything. He was Cool World. He was Mr. Whiskers and Brandy and Mr. Whiskers. I mean, this guy's voice, he was Ickis in Ah Real Monsters. And the funny thing, when I first watched this, I didn't think it was Charlie Adler. I thought instead, because he sounds exactly in the role of the evil prince, like John Kassir, who is best known for playing the Crypt Keeper, which kind of annoyed me when I found out it wasn't him, because I wrote a whole bunch of notes about the prince being the Crypt Keeper while he was alive, and now I can't do that. But sometimes you gotta take what you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the slapstick in the episode is well done. Just the fact that it's not done to Donald Duck himself is kind of a missed opportunity. And
it's a missed opportunity. Honestly, guys had too much slapstick done to him in, like, say, the old cartoons and DuckTales. I think he deserves a break here.
Yeah, exactly. I can see that, but it's like they didn't really do much of anything with it, which is kind of weird, especially for like a Donald Duck show, because that's like one of the things that he's best known for. It's like when they tried doing the Tom and Jerry show in like the 80s without as much slapstick. It's like
the Tom and Jerry kids show.
Yeah, it's like something is missing, you know? It's like there's a piece of it. It's like when they removed Garfield from Garfield comics. You know that there's something missing there, and it's just weird to see it without it.
Yeah.
The running gag with the trumpets are pretty good, and yeah, I feel like a lot of it definitely is well done, and it's ironic that we picked an episode of the show, probably the episode of the show, with like the least amount of screen time for a Huey, Dewey, and Louie total.
Yeah.
Basically, the one who gets all the things to do is Louie, who basically accidentally starts a revolution because all of Donald's completely inane decrees, like no parking in the white zone, which I gotta admit, that was a pretty good gag, you know?
Yeah, you say you want a revolution, well, you know. I'm sorry, every time I hear revolution, I think of two things. The Wolverine scene from Marvel Superhero Squad, where they're like clones of Wolverine, and like that Beatles song. That is easily my favorite Beatles song, hands down.
I don't blame it. It slaps.
Hopefully this channel doesn't get demonetized for that, though.
I don't think it would. You know, I don't think.
Anyways,
I think we're safe with that. You know, acapella probably wouldn't get struck down. But,
I hope.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, definitely the part with Daisy being a news reporter, it allows her to be more proactive in basically the episode's story.
Yeah.
I definitely do like that. I like that Disney actually basically took a risk with the character and made her more progressive, but in a way that definitely works, I feel, for the character. And again, like I say, Tress MacNeille did a fantastic job as the character, and it's no surprise that she's still the voice actress because she is great. And now of course, the episode Why Donald is Made King is because he supposedly slays a dragon, and now it is time to talk about that dragon.
Or Nellie. Dragoness.
Yep, exactly. Dragoness, Nellie. Now, the funny thing, when we first see her, it was in a flashback, which, by the way, Donald is wearing his sailor suit in the flashback, so
nice.
That's another interesting little cute thing right there. But back to Nellie, she looks like Maleficent more than basically how she looked later on in the episode. Once she's actually rampaging through the village, and Donald accidentally defeats her by driving away and knocking a catapult onto like the dam, which extinguishes their fire. Basically, she has a completely different, more feral appearance, which I think is a cute bit of misdirection.
Yeah.
And
like we could have gotten Maleficent again, and
but they did something totally different.
Yeah, they did something totally different, and honestly, I feel that works because
it does work. It does work because
Nellie herself is actually a very, very charming and very endearing person when she's not being used for evil like she is. And it honestly gives Daisy a chance to help change the dragon for the better, and that's honestly a very, very nice touch, having a dragon being changed for the better.
I do like that. That is definitely one of the aspects I enjoy about her.
And again, it adds to Daisy's character because, like, Daisy became more active in this, and I'm very happy that they decided to make sure that she. Okay, hang on here. Let me think. And I'm really happy that they made sure to have Daisy actively do something rather than just be like the token gal, you know?
Exactly. But yeah, when we actually get to see Nellie in the episode proper, she has a lot more of that classic Disney, Elliot bottom heavy look. And apparently,
dragon.
Exactly, and that leads into my next point. She actually is kind of based on, and you can kind of see her as a modern version of the Reluctant Dragon. Apparently, according to the show notes, they actually based it on her, and you definitely can see that.
Yeah, 80s clothing and all.
Definitely. But I like that. The fact that she wears clothes like that, she wears the tank top, the headband, and the sneakers on the dragon claws. That's a fun little touch. I feel like that also serves to give her more character than if she was just a dragon. It's something that is very unique, especially by a design standpoint, because let's face it, how many dragonesses that we're going to talk about on this podcast are going to wear any sort of articles of clothing? Probably very, very, very few, and Nellie is one of the few.
Very few, yeah.
That definitely is something that, is a nice touch. One thing, again, that is interesting is that she has really tiny, almost vestigial wings on her back, but yet in the flashback, they look more large and imposing like Maleficent's. Which,
I guess that prince really made her really tame in those days.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, have you seen this gal? She's got a big gut, and she's got she's hardly had any time to flex them since then.
Exactly,
Can you really blame her?
Around the castle, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, Nellie's voice actress is Julie Brown. She was a very popular comedian in the 80s and 90s, and yet again, she's another person who, if you've basically heard animation and of the time period, you know her. She was in Tiny Toon Adventures, where she basically played herself as an MTV host, which she was. She was in Animaniacs as Minverna Mink, and she starred in her own movie in the 80s called Earth Girls Are Easy, which starred, joke, Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, and I think Damon Wayans as three aliens who basically look for, basically to learn about Earth women and stuff like that. It's a very, very bizarre musical comedy of the time period, and she's great in it. She really was a great actress, and she had a great comedic thing. I don't know what she's doing now. I think she's kind of semi-retired, but you definitely could tell. Julie Brown, the voice actress behind Nellie in this episode.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what she's doing either.
Yeah, I think that she's kind of semi-retired now, but she definitely deserves it because she was definitely a great actress and a great voice actress because she really, really helps with Nellie's personality. Because Nellie is such a fun take on a dragoness, I feel. It definitely is one that, even today, 25 some odd years later, it is so unique. Even for now, basically with how they depict her.
Yeah. She's honestly, her character is one of those things where it's she's very much in the beginning ditzy, kind of naive sort of. I'd somewhat equate her more to the Reluctant Dragon than Elliot, because Elliot at least has a sense of what's right and what's wrong, and to a sort of extent, so does the Reluctant Dragon, but the Reluctant Dragon has a little more lucky, happy-go-lucky sort of thing. Like, he's very much in his own little world for the most part, but not in a way where he doesn't acknowledge other people. And we kind of get that sort of thing with Nellie in the beginning. However, thanks in part to Daisy, she ultimately learns to stand up for herself a little more. Like, she sees through the prince trying to be a little bit of a snide and trying to trick her, and she ultimately decides, screw you, buddy, and pretty much takes the role as king for herself, or queen in this case.
Yeah, basically,
and
from
pretty
Donald.
much pretty much goes about ruling the kingdom instead of Donald, because let's be fair, Donald being a monarch would not really end well. Also, Guy at that point had pretty much had all he could have.
Exactly. But yeah, like I say, that definitely is part of the reason why I like her, and the fact that the only reason that she actually puts up with the evil prince is because he was the only one that wasn't afraid of her, is a really cute backstory. And also the juxtaposition between them, because he's like a stereotypical evil prince. He could be in basically any sort of King Arthur story of that. And she's basically like a valley girl, happy-go-lucky type. Is really, really fun. It definitely is a fun dynamic. And it's kind of a shame that Nellie only appears in the latter half of the episode, because I feel like if they had more time for her, they definitely could have had a lot of fun, fleshing out basically their dynamic. As it stands, it still is really, really well done, and it really, really is. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that one of the aspects of her personality that I enjoy, and that, again, is a funny concept, is the reason that she does basically his bidding is that he gives her gifts. Definitely is something that actually makes sense by, dragon behaviors and things like that.
Yeah,
and
it really does.
And sorry.
It kind of does make Nellie feel like a wet blanket at first, but that's because the king has been feeding her honeyed lies, so to speak. She was basically Todd Howarded, and she didn't know it until Daisy decided to wake her up a little.
Exactly. But yeah, like I say, the thing that is, like I say, funny about it too is it makes sense, of course, because a dragon is. I mean, what does a dragon want? A hoard. And what are gifts? But, a way for her to have more things than that. And the fact that, again, when she's talking with Daisy, she's just so casual about everything. And that, too, is another bit of, misdirection that is really, really makes her stand out amongst pretty much all the dragonesses, really. She's definitely one of the more unique ones. And you can definitely see it with every frame of animation, basically. The fact that, again, she doesn't care about rampaging is another nice touch. And her just being so giddy that she could breathe fire again, thanks to those basically snack things that Huey, Dewey, and Louie brought with them, it really is almost just so cute. How her rampage is more like her playing around and giddily skipping. That definitely is something that, again, is so. It really is well done.
Dragon,
really
pretty much.
Funny. Yeah, it basically, like I say, it exactly is Reluctant Dragon, but I think it's a different enough take on it to where she stands on her own 2 feet, basically, as a one-off character and a TV series from the late 90s. She definitely holds up. And I do enjoy also the fact when Donald actually comes around to her, she's just so casual about how she'll have to burn him up. I mean, that is just the way she delivers it. It's just so funny. Again, a lot of it is with Julie Brown's delivery of her lines, how she plays Nellie, basically as not so much, I don't want to say vapid, because he definitely isn't, but more casual, more freewheeling type. Definitely is a fantastic, way to do things. But yeah, I feel like there definitely was a missed opportunity of not having more slapstick with crushed by her. Or no, it's crushed by, I think, one of the gifts, and it becomes flattened in that. That pretty much is the only bit of slapstick I think that happens to Donald Duck, aside from the trumpets alerting him in the episode, which again is something that is very strange for a character like Donald. You could have definitely had more slapstick of him dealing with her and that, but as it stands, it still is a fun time. The fact that basically basically her and the prince have to fight each other by trying to woo her over with gifts is, again, it's something that I feel like could have been fleshed out a little bit, but again, as it stands, it is a humorous enough way in that how they basically go about it. And of course, Donald solves the problem by making Nellie the queen, and she becomes her own dragon, and she gets rid of the evil prince, which of course is what he deserves. And it basically is a real happy ending for her in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually good to see that too. That she actually got to rule basically Quaintania, and it seems like things will be going decent there, decent enough with her as the leader. And there's one part of the ending that definitely doesn't make sense when they're driving away in like that RV. Huey, Dewey, and Louie mentioned like, oh man, we got all this money, and Daisy mentions that it's worth like a millionth of a cent, and they're like, oh man, I hate ironic comeuppance. And it's like, what ironic comeuppance?
To be fair,
they didn't even really do anything in this episode when you get down to it.
I mean, they pretty much made a fortune in the kingdom, but like outside of it, if Daisy freaking said that, honestly, they honestly deserved that sort of thing, because like it's not like terrible, but like it honestly in a sort of extent works, because like they thought they were making like a king's ransom, but in the end it was
worth nothing. So I can kind of see that, yeah. But again, it's like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, at least in this episode, compared to some of the clips I watched, they weren't really too obnoxious in this episode, which again, I am pleasantly surprised.
A lot of people shit on them for very unjust reasons, I feel, because like even though they have like that 90s toot, I mean shit, Sonic had the same thing and people don't hate him. He's iconic.
For a while they did, but now I feel like Sonic is back on the love side of things. But in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, I don't think people liked Sonic as much as they do today. I feel like now with hindsight, there's more of an appreciation for it than there was, say, a decade ago.
Yeah.
And of course,
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? For the most part, all the females that I've seen in this show, Nellie, Antoinette the Gator, like holy crap, the episode involving her, like she really did more than her fair share on that one, other than just being a gator who had the hots for Donald.
Exactly.
I'm really happy that Quack Pack had a lot more focus on female, and doing it in a very justified and proper way. Not whatever the heck nowadays was doing, but actually making them, people, not just.
You got it. Exactly.
And I feel Nellie really embodies that for the most part. It was like a step forward, even though there were like a tiny bit of scoots back, but overall this was definitely a show that was needed, even though it was like shat on for the most part valid reasons, but overall for the wrong reasons,
I get you entirely. And like I say, the interesting thing is, of course, this episode I think ran for 65 episodes, like most of the Disney shows at that time. And yet, apparently this show's failure, because apparently the ratings weren't that good, even though it got like the contractually obliged 65 that every single Disney show did until Kim Possible. I think it was like the first to actually break that, because it was so insanely popular. But Nellie sadly would never appear again outside this episode, and I feel that's a missed opportunity. I feel like there's ways you could incorporate her in say Mickey Mouse Works, A House of Mouse, or even like the 2013 Paul Rudish shorts with Mickey and Donald. You definitely could find a way, I think, to actually incorporate her, not as like a main character like the Sensational Six or anything, but more along the lines of like say Clara Cluck, basically a reoccurring character. I feel is something that definitely could work out with her.
Oh
and I think it's really a shame that Disney didn't do anything with her, especially because you could have her show up again in things like, I feel like the best place to use her would have been in maybe Mickey Mouse Works, Although that
she could have made an appearance in DuckTales for 2017 for crying out loud.
That too. That's really surprising. I mean, they brought back Goofy from Goof Troop. They brought back, Darkwing Duck. Basically, they really dug deep from the Disney afternoon. I'm surprised they did not have her show up in any capacity, especially because compared to the first DuckTales, I feel like 2017 would definitely, basically do more justice to her in this case.
Yeah.
And speaking of Clarabelle, Cow, and Horsecollar, Disney was going to make a show about the two of them. Apparently, it would have had something to do with space travel or something with them. But this show's kind of ratings failure caused Disney to basically pull the plug on that, which is a shame because before Donald Duck, Clarabelle and Horace were basically not Disney's. They were Mickey Mouse's best friends. And after Donald Duck got introduced, they kind of got pushed to the wayside.
Yeah, that's a shame.
When you watch shorts pre-1934 with Mickey and that, he's usually hanging out with Goofy, who was of course before that, but also Clarabelle and Horace were his two best friends, and they kind of got put to the side. And I'm not saying it's justified because let's be honest, Donald has way more characteristics and dynamics, but definitely would have been cool to see more of them as well.
Oh man, you want to know what's really interesting about that is you know what's interesting? I just thought about now.
Yeah.
It's there's this one moment in there's this one thing I remember seeing where it's a line where Goofy's where they're hiding from a spider, and Goofy's careful, Mick. Don't look him directly in the mandibles.
Oh God, that's a classic.
It's just a little spider.
And he opens it, it's like a giant, a live action spider. The Paul Rudish shorts really, I think that they did Mickey Mouse justice in a way that has not been seen since House of Mouse, I feel. And
it's also
maybe the Three Musketeers movie, because that was a good one. But
that was
probably since the Three Musketeers movie, I feel like Mickey really kind of got the shaft, but I feel like now it's bringing back to the way he was. And we'll definitely talk more about, Mickey Mouse and classic Disney on the episode about Mickey's House of Villains when we talk about that, probably around Halloween. But
you want to know what? It also that little short also cements how much Goofy and Mickey are friends, very much so. And also, ironic thing about that, I saw a FNAF meme involving that. It was Monty Gator and Freddy, and they were opening the door, and it was the giant Music Man.
Oh God. Oh, that's great. So, now it is time for the question of the week, which is, what Disney TV cartoons are your favorite and why? Mine are definitely two that are probably two of the better known ones, which is Recess, which again, as I said earlier in the episode, was probably one of my favorite shows as a kid. I actually really liked, although I love SpongeBob. SpongeBob is probably my favorite cartoon of all time. As a kid, I also liked shows like Recess and Hey Arnold and Doug. I just felt like there was something about those shows that kind of spoke to me as a kid, and Recess definitely is one of the better ones in the kind of slice of life kid genre, because the personality between all the kids and the characters, it definitely is relatable. I feel like everybody has had a teacher or somebody like that, like Miss Finster. Everybody has known kids like that, and I definitely feel Recess in a whole. Even today, I think kids would understand it because it really speaks to what it is like to be a kid and to be out with your friends and having fun in that. And my second choice is, even though, I really like some of the others, Jake Long is just fantastic, it really is good. But my second favorite one is probably going to be House of Mouse, because Mickey Mouse Works was a fun show on its own. It definitely was fun, but I feel like House of Mouse was what it needed to really push it to excellence, because in comparison to something like, Ralph Breaks the Internet, which is just there to get checks and a check mark. It's we got to get Marvel in, we got to get Star Wars in, we got to get Baby Groot in, because we got to get
freaking Nick Wilde in there, even though he doesn't make all that much an appearance. Honestly, exactly. That's one of the only things I liked about it. There are others that I did like, but yeah, I kind of see where the hatred sort of lies. But anyways, House of Mouse is way better, honestly.
A love letter. I mean, House of Mouse well, let's just say, House of Mouse played a love letter to basically every single aspect of Disney. Every single one. I mean, they actually referenced Tron with like the light cycle showing up. And they had...
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in an episode when they go into the garage, you can actually see the light cycles are there. I mean, if they go that far, I need to watch this
episode now.
Yeah, and they had the episode basically with Dennis the Duck was basically Disney acknowledging Oswald the Rabbit, because at the time they made the show, Disney did not own Oswald again yet. So yeah, basically, if you are a fan of Disney or even like a casual watcher of Disney, House of Mouse is just incredible. The way that it definitely was made with a labor of love, and definitely how the characters interact with each other, and again, just seeing them basically all together in this shared space. Nowadays, you have stuff like Ready Player One and Ralph Breaks the Internet and like Emoji Movie and all that stuff. But back then, to see all your favorite characters together in one place like that was something that really, really was unique. Let's say this way, because House of Mouse was in 2001, right? That was something that really had rarely been done before, outside of stuff like Hanna-Barbera. Yeah. And again, that's, I think, why I like it so much, because it definitely is made with, love, and definitely it's funny as hell. It really is. House of Mouse is definitely a show that I'm shocked that Disney is not putting on Disney Plus just yet. There's really no excuse for it not to be on Disney Plus.
Actually, talking of Hanna-Barbera, that reminds me of like shows like Venture Bros and Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Like before Jellystone, those were the closest we ever got to an appreciation for all that Hanna-Barbera did. I mean, barring like freaking Pac-Man and Charlotte's Web, which they also made. Fun fact. It's very interesting that like during the midsection of the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of shows were like referencing stuff from the past before the present day,
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, those would be my choices. Angron, what would you say is your favorite Disney TV show, a cartoon rather?
Okay. 2 trains of thoughts to that. One, Mighty Duck. I remember seeing trailers for this on VHSs back in like freaking elementary school, and honestly, it looked like a fun show. It looked great. It looked interesting. Like hell, it was Turtle Mania well after Turtle Mania. Let's be honest. But I also heard a lot of odd things about it. I've heard a lot of bad things about it as well. But then I decided to watch it like 2021, 2022 or so, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like a lot of the Disney afternoon shows were shat on for like no good reason. I mean, there were some that deserved it, but Mighty Ducks did not deserve that, honestly. I love the characters there. They're a bit carbon copy. They're diverse enough that I honestly did find the whole hockey Zen thing a little but it's a really interesting show, and I would have loved to see more about it. However, here's my other train of thought, and my actual number one, Gravity Falls. Come on, there's no beating Gravity Falls. It is the OG of its kind, and there's pretty much nothing like it. You can try and replicate it with Amphibia, Big City Greens, Owl House, DuckTales 2017 even.
But yeah,
come on,
Gravity Falls was definitely the peak. It definitely is something that to this day is shocking that Disney Channel 2013. Let's say it that way made it. They were making this around the same time they made Player Select, where they took a bunch of Let's Plays of like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, censored the profanity, and put it on TV. That was an actual show that Disney Channel did. Look it up. It's crazy.
Oh, man.
But,
They also did... I think they did this one where it's like Goat Simulator, and like... Oh, man. I watched it because I saw that one line. I was like, Markiplier? But then I saw the episode and I'm just like, what the hell? But yes, I will 100% say Gravity Falls is my favorite show now of Disney Channel now and forever. I mean, I will 100% vouch for Mighty Ducks, Gargoyle, both DuckTales, Owl House, Big City Greens, freaking Amphibia, and the Ghost and Molly McGee is very much worth your time. But come on, man, it's Gravity Falls. It has so much charm, so much risk, so much character, so much development.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree.
There's no other choice, man.
It's the
There's
pinnacle.
no other choice other than maybe Mighty Ducks. And also the Wuzzles. I will say that. Wuzzles is a very, very, very solid close second. I mean, Mighty Ducks... Okay, if I had to pick my top three, Mighty Ducks, Wuzzles, freaking Gravity Falls. That is the order that I will put it in. And I will die by that order. I swear.
All right, that's a good one. Mathmachine, what would you have to say? Is your favorite Disney Channel cartoon and why?
As much as I do like the new stuff, like the DuckTales reboot or Rapunzel Tangled Adventures.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
Really nicely like that today. I gotta give it to the OG Gargoyles.
Yes.
So far ahead of its time. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
It had an amazing voice cast because, hey, let's just get TNG.
Exactly.
And the animation was superb, and the show got done dirty in that third season.
Yeah.
Let's get freaking the Barack Obama from Rick and Morty into that shit.
No, yeah, Gargoyles is fantastic. That definitely too is another one that, again, you look at it, it's like, how did Disney allow them to get away with this for so long?
It was the 90s.
Exactly, especially in the 90s. That was the age of, like, the whole parental groups and that. But
it was the age of Batman, for crying out loud.
That too.
It was the age of Batman, but a lot of other animation studios were doing that, whereas Disney was very much in the Gummy Bears, Little Mermaid, Goof Troop kind of thing. They weren't doing
they were coming off the high
more mature stuff. Like
they were gradually coming off the high of the Disney Renaissance, and that was certainly a way to do it.
Exactly. But
that's also one of those shows that I just do not think that they could do a continuation of or reboot of today, and it would be the same show. I think that it just was a product of its time, and unfortunately, with how bad the third season was, even if they just go like, okay, that doesn't exist, we're just going to start from the end of the second season and do our own thing from there, it just would not be the same. It would not work the same way. I just do not see them.
Thank goodness for the comic. Yeah, thank goodness for the comics, and thanks goodness for, again, DuckTales 2017 for, like, actively giving ode and acting as a sort of, like, say, continuation of, like, the series, as it were. Because, man, those shows really needed more appreciation, and honestly, DuckTales 2017 was the way to go to do it. You know?
Definitely. So, LuckyEevee, what would you have to say?
Man, I was a Cartoon Network kid. I didn't watch Disney.
Oh, well, if
none of them at all.
One show off the top of your head that you have watched from Disney, what would it be?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Wow.
I told them I was a Cartoon Network kid.
Yeah, I mean, I was too, but like
I fucking grew up on shit like Get and Nettie.
Oh, me too, 100%. But even I could like appreciate even I could like give ode where ode is give 100% due. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So now it is time for the most important part of our show, the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we will be reviewing Nellie today. And I will go first, and I'm going to give her a pretty high score. And maybe a little higher than she deserves, but I am going to give her a 9 out of 10 because I feel like, number one, the design is just so well done. I feel like she is an incredibly unique dragoness, not just for like 1996 standards, but by the ones that are even being made today. She is incredibly unique in that regard. The voice acting is good. The characterization is a lot of fun. Her dynamic with the other characters is good. Even the way, the way she wears modern clothing is such a fun, unique touch that, again, is not really done with dragonesses that much at all.
I know,
and it's
right?
Something that really, she is so unique. She's just one of a kind in that way. Even though she's based on the reluctant dragon, she basically takes that character and it makes it her own. Again, like the way that she became her own dragon, that's definitely the way that I feel like the character designs took the reluctant dragon and they made it like its own with Nellie. I can't give her a 10 out of 10 as much as I would like to. The only reason she's getting a 9 out of 10 is because I feel like she shows up a little bit too late. Just a little bit too late. If she showed up in the first, say, quarter of, the first quarter of the episode, she probably would have been like a perfect score. But I feel like the biggest problem is she shows up a little bit too late in the episode to really do as much as they could have done with her. And again, with Disney not doing much with her in general. But no, 9 out of 10. She is so good in this respect.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna sound like a dick when I say this, but I kind of want to give her a slightly lower score. Before I do, though, I want to point out a few negatives of the character. As fun and as bombastic as fun, naive, bombastic as much of the reluctant dragoness she ultimately is, I feel that the naivete dampens her down just a little bit. Not to the point where she's absolutely hateable, but enough where I'm like, yeah, that's a little concerning. Also, yeah, I agree with you saying that, like, she should have had more time. They should have milked her for all she was worth. However, those aren't enough to really give her any lower of a score other than, say, 8 out of 10. If I was really being a dick, 7 out of 10, but because I like her so much and because she's like, this is like the only time we ever see Nellie, I kind of want to do her justice and give her a very much needed score of 8 out of 10, you know?
That's a good one. Okay. Yep. You're very justifying your reasons, and I'm glad for that. Mathmachine, what would you have to say?
Well, time for Math to be a stick in the mud.
Oh boy. Right. Even more.
First off, this has always been the thing with me. I do not like the 80s aerobics jazzercise outfits. I've just never liked that on any character ever. I just do not find that a good look, and it annoys me for reasons I can't describe. I did not like her Valley Girl accent. I liked her voice, but I didn't like the Valley Girl way of speaking that she had. And there was just something about her that just did not work in general for me. Having said all that, I did like her base design being based on Reluctant Dragon, and I did like how her and Daisy had this dynamic like the Reluctant Dragon and Sir Giles from the short. So there's good and bad with her, but there was just so much that I just could not stand about her that unfortunately I got to give her a 5.
Oh.
Well, no, that's probably justified.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it had a reverse reluctant dragon sort of. Like, I like how Daisy actually like bolstered Nellie instead of like the reluctant dragon, where like the young boy pretty much exactly. Where the young boy pretty much fed into stereotypes more or less.
Exactly. Yeah. So, LuckyEevee, what would you have to say?
I'm looking at that's it 5.
All right.
Oof.
Well, hey, everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
It's the hair. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think it works.
I feel the hair works a little bit. It's not like perfect, but
I'm okay with hair.
I don't know. It gives very unique
hairstyle. That hairstyle in particular is just no.
I don't know. I feel like it's a very unique hairstyle. For her, it works. I feel like on other characters, I could see, but basically her characterization, at least for me, I feel like it kind of works out. So yeah, if you have any questions or if you want to give Nellie any more gifts, you can email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com, or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/Fiery Discourse. Next time, we'll be talking about the 2019 movie, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World with the Light Fury.
Hey,
That'll be a lot of fun. The final finale of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. So, yeah, that'll definitely be a lot of fun. And until then, thank you guys so much for listening, and take care.
Yep, laters.
Peace out.
Adios.